Project Monarch is by far the most horrific division of MK Ultra. I'm just going to let her tell you, but just know when she first came out with this, the government went into damage control, completely media blasted her with, that she was mad, she was crazy, and it worked pretty well. Kind of like this. When you Google her name, what immediately comes up? Wiki. Conspiracy theorist. I have run into this so many times with so many true events. Wiki was the first one I realized that was like, this is definitely government media control. Like, Googling the finders, you can find the real information. There's tons of court case evidence. They were, in my opinion, part of this program that I'm talking about, grooming and abusing and exploiting these children. And I mean, there's a lot of facts involved. You Google it, Wiki immediately just like glorifies them, says nothing about this, and what a great pacifistic little cult they were. So when you hear things like Montauk Project and there's victims saying that they were part of it, believe the victims. Like, really, they're risking their lives. They have nothing to benefit from this.
The MK Ultra mind control projects were very strong, but they weren't just experimental at the time that I was in. They were already absolute. They knew exactly what they were doing. And they even had it established where they had a certain faction of the government set up to target children. And my father began prostituting me. My mother's father had a Blue Masonic Lodge. He ran a Blue Masonic Lodge up in Michigan, and it was where the politicians were just real, local politicians were just real active. And my father began prostituting me out to different ones who were aware of the child abuse because of the knowledge coming through on CIA mind control and being so much a part of a criminal faction of our government that's also referred to as the shadow government. That trauma left people suggestible, left that subconscious open to where they were highly suggestible and easily led. There was nowhere to go, and my brain automatically began compartmentalizing further when my father began doing child pornography of me and sold it through the local Michigan Mafia child pornography ring. That criminal faction of the government, that shadow government that was monitoring such things as those child pornography rings. We didn't have internet back then. The child pornography rings to target children like myself for MK Ultra mind control. And of course, I'd mentioned that Blue Masonic Lodge, and one of the members there was a local politician named Gerald Ford. Of course, this is the same Gerald Ford that went into the office of president, and was very much a part of how I ended up being used on a White House Pentagon level during the Reagan-Bush administration. But he was interested this criminal faction was interested in children like myself, because when you have so many of those compartments, there's no continuity of thought anymore. If you operate in this compartment and have no memory of it, operate in this compartment and have no memory of it, there's no way to have any continuity of thought bridging, and there's no ability to have any continuity of time. You don't have a concept of time at all. I didn't know. I began to lose my whole perspective on time, how long anything was. This is something that they were also interested in. They know it's a phenomena of the brain, because when a person doesn't know how long they've been doing something, the physical endurance is tremendous. You don't get tired if you don't know you're supposed to be tired. So it creates a physical endurance that's really good for military special forces, military intelligence, or the kind of political prostitution that I was eventually used in the course of the kind of missions that I was forced to carry out in later years. So this local politician, who was just one more pedophile to me, came to the house and told my father that he could receive immunity from prosecution if he would agree to sell me into the CIA's mind control project. My father agreed to it, was actually pretty thrilled about it, thinking, wow, the government condones child abuse, this is wonderful. He excitedly agreed to it, had 5 more children afterwards just to raise in the project. So there were 7 of us children in the family and all. But as soon as my father agreed, he was flown to Boston, Massachusetts for a course on how to manipulate the subconscious mind. Since it was my subconscious mind that was open, Boston, Massachusetts is a real key epicenter place to mention because, as I'm sure all of you have heard, that's where the Catholic child abuse scandal was right there out of Boston, Massachusetts. Look at the vast numbers that you have heard about that have been sexually abused within a Catholic church. So I was raised in the Catholic Church. I had been all along. Our church in Muskegon, Michigan was actively involved with the CIA on mind control. I certainly wasn't the only one. As a matter of fact, I thought it was the way life was because everybody I knew, there was some horrible abuse going on. It's like it was a way of life in Muskegon, Michigan. It has since been termed the pedophile capital of the United States. That came out in the Muskegon Chronicle, and it's a widely known fact. My brain, because then I was subjected to occult ritual. Occultism is a horrible blood trauma that certainly created more compartments in my mind.